Okay, for this one we're going to do page 81A. So if you don't have your mechanical drawing book open and turn to page 81 yet, you're not ready, so do that here quickly. Alright, so first off, looking at page 81A, you need to look at the drawing and see what a kind of a common view would be to draw this drawing from. And I always try to make you think about this a little bit logically. So for this, if we kind of hold our finger over top of that little block that's on the front of this piece, if you look at the rest of it, it's just kind of an L-shaped block. So all we're really going to do is we're going to draw an L-shaped block. But one of our first most important steps is, I just mentioned that was in the front view. Currently, we are in the top view. So my first step is to change that to the front view. And then in the front view, we're going to actually do some dimensions here and draw this. So I'm going to start by drawing a line straight to the side. I need my puller on to do that. So I'm going to draw it straight to the side. I'm going to draw it over there 3 inches. For my height up, look at the drawing. I think I'm going to go 0.75. Back over, if you look at the drawing, this portion of it's a little bit less than half. So half of 3 is 1.5, so I think I'm going to go over 1.25. Then I'm going to go up, and the distance up there is a little bit less, so I'm going to go up 0.5. And then coming back over, well, honestly, to go over here, that would be 2, but I think that makes it a little bit long. So I actually think I made a mistake before. I think the other one I did was 1.5. I think I'm going to, or sorry, 1.25. I think I'm going to go over 1.5 this time. And then we're going to bring this down to the beginning. So now with that, I ended up with an actual chunk of line there, but I think it makes the drawing look better overall. Now, the next thing I look at with this is, I think my drawing really is honestly a little bit too wide and a little bit too short. So I need to make this taller. To make that taller, I'm going to show you a new command, which is the stretch command. The way the stretch command works is like this. The shortcut for stretch is S. So I'm going to hit S and hit enter. And I click above and to the right of my object up in this area. Pull a crossing window down and around. Now with this crossing window, the line here that my box crosses, my window crosses, or sorry, not crossing crosses here, and this line here, those two lines will either be made shorter or longer, and these other lines up here at the top that are entirely included will just be moved. So let's see how this works. So I click here, I hit enter, pick my base point, and now as I move my mouse, I can stretch this box taller, or I can stretch it and make it shorter. You can move it at some weird angles, which just isn't real helpful, but moving it straight up, I'm going to go straight up, and I'm going to go up 0.25 to make it a 1/4 inch taller, and I think that looks a little bit better. But one other thing I think I need to do is also, I need to make this section taller. So I'm going to use stretch once more, stretch that section again another 1/4 inch taller, and I think that really looks very similar to what it does there in the book. Alright, from there, I now need to make this into a solid. To make it into a solid, my next step is going to be to region it. So I'm going to go REG for region. I'm going to pick that entire block, region it. Really doesn't look much different there unless I put it onto a conceptual view and I can tell that's shaded. Now here's what I dislike that grid being on there. I think it kind of distracts from it, so I'm going to turn that grid off. And there's that block. Actually, it's just a plane there. So now I need to make this into a solid, so I'm going to extrude it. And I'm going to extrude that, I'm trying to remember, I think I did 1.25 maybe. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I think the 1.25 was correct. So there, that block is done and looking good. The next part of this is, I've got this actual block here that sits on the front of it. For that, I'm just going to simply use my box command. So I'm going to go to my 3D Tools tab, come up here and pick my box. I'm going to select and start my box there on that corner. And now notice I can pull my box and drag it around there. That box is I want to make it a specific size, so I'm going to hit my L command, my length. So I'm going to hit L, enter for length. Again, with my puller on, I'm going to make sure I'm coming straight to the side. And this length is a little bit further than this corner, and that was 1.25 before, so I'm going to go 1.5 now. The height, again, this corner, since I stretched it out, was 1 inch tall. You can see that there. I'm going to come a little bit shorter there, so I'm going to go 0.75. And then the distance out, I'm going to come out just a 1/4 inch, so 0.25 there. So there I've got this drawing. Looking pretty good, and it's basically finished. The only other part I want to do to this is, I want to make things a little bit more interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my Home tab here at the top. I'm going to select my main block, and I'm going to just change the color of it to some other color other than just white. So I'm going to change that one to that color, change this block to some other color. That's it there. A little bit more interesting might be to change it to a realistic view. And that gives a little bit more color to it there. And now my only other problem I have is this is two separate blocks. In the book there it is one single block, so I need to put those together into one. To do that I'm going to use the union command, which is UNI as the shortcut, and I'm going to union those two together. Notice what it did here also when you union that. This surface of it that was shown as two separate objects has now blended together, and it shows up as the color of just one or the other. AutoCAD's kind of weird which one it picks there, what color to make it. It may have turned the color of this block, it may have turned the color of your small block. And that's just kind of AutoCAD deciding on what it does. It also did the same thing down here on the bottom of it. So with that, this block is finished. To finish this up totally, you're going to go and change back to your top view. And that switches you around there to the top side of it. And then you're going to click on your isometric view to put that in a normal isometric. And there that is. You'd save that there. Then you'd save that as page 81A in your practice folder. Now, there is an instance to where you could possibly have this drawing in the wrong view. So I'm going to pause the video for a second and get mine to a different view and show you how you would fix that. Okay, so let's say you have done your drawing. And there it is looking great. But my problem is when I go to my top view, there I am looking at my front view. So I drew it in the wrong view. I drew it in the top view, but this should actually be the front of the object. So to fix this, what you're going to do is this. Again, this view looks like the front view, so all we're going to do is we're going to select that view there. It looks like the front. It happens to be named the top. I'm going to go Control-C and copy it. And once again, as we just said, this looks like the front view. So I'm now going to change to the view that's called front. I'm going to go Control-V and paste that view that I copied just a moment ago that looked like the front. I'm going to paste it into the front view. This other view I'll just erase. And now that drawing is showing the front view here, and it is showing the front view of the actual object. Now to finish it back up again, you would go back to the top view and click on that bottom corner, and there you're back in that original view. Trust me, you will do this, you will put it in the wrong view, but it really is a pretty simple thing to finish that up. Okay, so that's it for this assignment. Now the next thing we're going to do is something a little bit different. It's actually another assignment you're going to do the next day, tomorrow. And let's look at it. So, the first thing we're going to do on this next assignment is we're going to open up this drawing, we're going to add a little bit to it and modify it. The first thing we need to do is come over here to our three little lines, and we need to add in a new button down here at the bottom. The new button you need to add in is called Dynamic UCS. So Dynamic UCS, you're going to check on that, add it in, and it appears right down here. I already have mine open. Looks like an XY coordinate with a little lightning bolt on it. Right now, my Dynamic UCS is turned off. When your Dynamic UCS is turned on, and you select a command, for example, a line command or any command, you'll notice what this does. You go out here, you hover over your object, and it highlights this surface, highlights this one, highlights each surface of the object when that Dynamic UCS is on, and you're in a command. If you don't have your Dynamic UCS on, you come out here to your block and nothing really appears. So where this is going to come in handy is here. Once again, I'm still in my top view, so the Z is pointing out of my top view. If I was to go to my 3D Tools command, and if I was to draw a cone, it'd appear there and it'd point out my top view, because my Z is pointing out my top. If I wanted to draw a cone pointing out this front side of this object, before the way I showed you how to do this is you would go to your front view, and you draw that cone pointing out the front. With Dynamic UCS on, it's actually a little bit easier. But I wanted you to understand this a little bit before I showed this to you. So, with your Dynamic UCS on, with it turned to blue there, now if we want to draw a cone, say I want my cone pointing out of this surface of the object. And here, notice it's not selecting there. Sometimes you have to twist it a little bit in 3D, a little bit different view, to make it there. Now it's seeing that as that surface. So I hover over that surface, it's turned blue there, it's highlighted. Notice my Z is still pointing straight up. when I do this. But if I happen to click there and draw my cone, it's now pointing out that front view, even though my Z is pointing the other direction. I'm going to repeat the cone command. I'm going to do the similar thing up here. And again, pull a cone out that surface. I'm going to repeat my cone command. And again, not highlighted there, so I'm going to twist it a little bit of 3D. There we go. And draw it there. I'm going to repeat my cone command, draw a cone there. Basically, each one of these surfaces, I'm just drawing a cone out of each surface. And I just wanted you to see how easy and how simple that was to do that with that command turned on, with that button turned on. Once again, I'm going to rotate it here a little bit and do one even down here on this bottom surface. Do one on this back surface. And spin it all the way around and do one over here on this left side. Now, when you're drawing these cones, don't go too crazy with cones. Don't pull one out to there and draw a giant Worcester cone. On the other hand, don't draw a really stubby eddy cone either. But do it somewhere in between. Just draw a cone that we can see your cones drawn in there. So there you basically see how we can do those different surfaces and how quick and easy it is to change between the surfaces instead of changing it here. Now, there will be times where you don't have an object to select that you need to change it here. There will also be times sometimes when the dynamic UCS is turned on, it selects things you don't want to select, and it makes things a little bit more difficult. So you're going to have to judge whether you want it on or off. I typically draw with my dynamic UCS on most of the time when I'm doing 3D, but sometimes it's in the way, and I don't want to select that surface, and I want to turn it off. Sometimes I want to draw a cone on this surface that points in that direction. And if I want to draw one pointing in that direction with dynamic UCS on, I won't be able to do that. So that's a time when you want to turn that off. So you'll just have to judge when you want to use that and when you don't, and when it's the most useful. Again, here to finish this up, you're going to go to your top view. You're again going to click on your corner here to put it in a normalized symmetric view. Zoom in on it, and this is actually what you're going to end up uploading for page 81. I'm not going to make you upload both of them because I can see the page 81 there behind it, and I can see your spikes that you've drawn on there. So it says in your student view, upload P81, the spiked version with that. So this will be the one you upload for that. All right. So again, save this back to your practice folder. You can save it again as the same name as P81, and you'll upload it to student view. All right. Good job.